Welcome back to the channel. I'm out here this morning at a remote area of a local state park, and I'm going to do a overview of my truck camper setup this morning, and then finish the video with things that don't work really well for me and that I want to change in a future build. So we'll start in the bed area. The mattress, I'm just using a 4-inch thick mattress topper. This one is it's gel, so twin size, so it's a full twin mattress that's in here. Gives me plenty of room to stretch out, but because it's a topper, it just doesn't have enough firmness, so I tend to sink right down in, and it just folds up around my body, and it's not very comfortable. So removing the mattress, you can see the bed platform. So the bed platform sides are made out of 3/4 inch plyboard, and the top is a 1/2 inch plyboard. It's 37 inches wide, 76.5 inches long, and 9 inches tall. So I built it just tall enough that it would fit over the wheel well. So the back portion of the bed platform is on hinges, pops up, and I have 2 little storage compartments underneath there. So right now I have my heater in this one, and then just a fan and an extra curtain in this cabinet. Typically when I'm out camping, I'm gonna put all of my clothes that I'm taking on the trip. It's gonna be sitting in here, folded up so it's easy for me to access. And then my dirty laundry will go over in this one when after I change my clothes and stuff. I just lift up the platform, throw my dirty laundry over there, keeps everything out of the way as much as possible. So moving back a little bit further, I've built this little extender right here so that I can sit, my 6-foot frame can get into this bed and be comfortable without my feet hanging off. So it's just on some hinges, and then when it's in travel mode, it can plop up out of the way. And then when I get to camp, I can plop it down, and I usually put like my shoes and stuff underneath there at night for storage. And then in the back third is just a little pull-out drawer. It's nothing fancy. It's not on slides or anything. It just pocket screwed together, slides in there. I just keep stuff like I have my 2-burner in here, some extra propane. I got all of my koozies, extension cords, first aid kit, some bug spray, just miscellaneous stuff. Usually stuff that I'm going to get out when I first get to camp is what I'm going to put in here and store in here. And then the other purpose behind this is that I'm always traveling with camera gear, my iPad. So when I'm going out and doing a hike or going fishing or something like that, and I'm going to close my tailgate, I can put all that stuff into here. Close this up. You'll notice that it's screwed down around the top, so the top's secured. And then when my tailgate's up and locked, like someone would have to work to get in there. I mean, they could rip that whole cabinet out of there and do everything, but at least they're going to have to work to try to steal some of my valuables. On the opposite end of the bed platform, we have a little built-in cabinet. Starting on the outside right here, we have power inlet. So this is where I plug my extension cord when I have a campsite that has shore power. So from the inlet, it jumps over to this outlet, and I have that outlet wired into the camper setup just because when I pull into a campsite, and it's especially in wintertime camping, I like to run my heater directly off from this outlet instead of having a power strip, because the fire marshal will tell you that power strips and space heaters do not mix, and they can cause a fire. This is just a vent, got a hole in it going back to the other side of the cabinet. Moving in and down the cabinet, so we have a little 3-switch panel right here. So the first switch just works the interior lights, and the other 2 switches right now don't do anything. So I put in a 3-switch panel just for potential future expansion. I know that eventually I would like to have some exterior lights, LED lights, that I could put onto this switch panel. And then, I don't know, I just had the extra switch just in case I want to do something else besides exterior lights. I have another switch ready to go. And the switch actually runs back to a fuse block. And then we have the Bluetti 2000 watt power bank. This is the AC200P model, and you can see, so I'm using this 25 amp port right here. So it runs out of here and it powers the fuse block, which then in turn runs into my switches. And then it just has 6 AC outlets. It has a whole bunch of USBs, Down here it has a USB-C cigarette lighter. So this power bank right here, if I'm off grid with my CPAP machine running the lights in here and my 12-volt cooler, I can camp for 2 nights without worrying about having shore power, which is kind of nice. Moving down, we have just a little cabinet right here for a little bit of storage, which is a mess right now because I was just driving. But inside of this cabinet, I keep paper towels. I have all of my jet boil stuff, some ramen noodles, some snacks. Back over here, you can see there's the fuse block, some beans, just some little snacks and my jet boil stuff, so when I get up I can make my morning coffee. You can see my fancy doorknobs are 550 cord, just because when I'm moving around in here, I didn't want to have anything that I could jam my hip into or my knee into and give me an owie. Then this power strip right here is actually an outlet system for a conference room table that I just have hooked into here. So it has 4 more outlets, a USB-C and 2 USB ports, and then the plug runs down through the cabinet and it comes out here, and I can either plug it directly into the power bank or I could run it around to the outlet. But generally I just plug it right here into the power bank, and then it powers this whole set of outlets as well. And when I'm at an electric site, the power bank I plug in and it will charge itself up. So I just use that with the inverter as power and everything inside of the camper. And then I have a little cubby down here that I just keep, usually have a couple books in there, some wet wipes, miscellaneous stuff, screwdrivers, extra cables, Velcro, stuff in there. And then this is just a little storage tote that I keep that right now just has some hamburger pickles and an empty bag of M&Ms. So, but who doesn't need hamburger pickles? So the real Mrs. K put me together some blackout curtains. So they just have some Velcro and they just stick right into the liner. It's caught right here, so I can just put them up. Gives me a little bit of privacy when I'm out on the road camping. This stick is really just when I put my tailgate tent on, it puts pressure onto my back window of my topper, so I just put that in there just to relieve that pressure. So I don't know, I found it at one of the campsites I was at over the winter, and it's traveled with me ever since. So the flooring is 3/4 inch subfloor, so basically a wafer board, and with a indoor-outdoor carpet. I was in between whether I wanted to do the bed rug or I was going to do something different, or no floor, or just build out a floor like this. And the bed rug was a little more expensive than I wanted to spend on this truck because it's closer to its end of life than it is to having a lot of useful life left. So I didn't want to necessarily spend 350 bucks on the bed rug, get it installed, and then a year later sell the truck. Because if I get a new truck, it's not going to be a 5.5 foot bed. It's going to be at least a 6.5 foot bed. So I decided against the bed rug. I didn't want to leave it with no flooring in it because the little ridges that are typically in the floor like this are just hard on your knees. It's not as comfortable. And this gives a little bit of insulation value in the wintertime for the cold coming up through the bed of the truck. And this carpet, like I said, is indoor-outdoor carpet. I got it at Home Depot for a roll of it. It was like 35 bucks. So it was a pretty inexpensive option for the flooring, and it works well. All right, so that's the current setup. So now I'm going to talk about some things that I will be changing or would like to change in the future for this build. First thing, and the most expensive thing by far, is it would be amazing to have a truck with at least a 6.5 foot bed. Why? Just because for convenience. It would just be so much easier to not have to deal with the tailgate tent. Now the DAC tailgate tent is extremely easy to put up. Not that big of a deal. It's easy to take down. It doesn't really create a huge inefficiency for me. But if it rains and it gets wet, then I gotta hang it up, I gotta dry it, I gotta remember to take it back out when I get home to dry it so it doesn't get all funky. If I was going on a trip and I wanted to pull over at a rest stop or in a Cracker Barrel, it's just not gonna work back here to me to be able to sleep comfortably and to be able to get some rest. Where if I had the 6.5 foot bed, I could jump in the back, put my curtains up, crash out, no big deal. I don't think I'm gonna be a stealth camper, but it would be handy occasionally as I'm traveling across the country to just be able to pull in somewhere and get some shut-eye. And then really the next biggest challenge that I have, or struggles that I have with this, is the amount of space or the lack of space between the side cabinet and the bed platform. So that's where I usually slide my cooler in right here. And the problem is that my cooler just barely fits. So every time I put my cooler in and out, I got to unplug everything from the power bank, slide my cooler in, plug the cooler back into the power bank so it stays charged. And it's just very inconvenient, especially when I'm getting up to go fishing in the morning and it's 5 o'clock in the morning, it's dark out. I need to be able to see to have the interior lights on, and then I have to unplug everything, find my headlamp, put that on, and get everything situated. So that's probably the biggest area of complaint for sure. So, and I travel with a CPAP machine, so it would be really handy back here into the back where that white tote is to have a more permanent platform that my CPAP would sit on. Right now it generally either sits on that or I move that out of there and I put it on the ground. But it's not really great. It's not a great scenario, and any dirt or dust that flies in here tends to migrate to that area. So it'd be nice to have a cabinet in the back for a place to put my CPAP machine, maybe a drawer underneath it for a little more storage. You can't ever have too much storage inside of your truck setup. And then I mentioned the mattress toppers are just not comfortable at all. So I've done the 4-inch gel one. I threw in an extra 4-inch foam topper, and they're just not firm enough because they're mattress toppers. So you just, I mean, they suck right up around you and you're not comfortable at all. So on an overnight trip, not a big deal. On a multi-day trip, I can tell. Like by night 2, after night 2 going into night 3, night 4, like I'm no longer sleeping good. I'm no longer getting good rest at night. So I don't like that scenario. To solve all of my problems, I think, in my new truck build, I think the one thing that has to happen is the bed platform has to get smaller. So it can't be as wide. So I probably need to take 5-6 inches off from this, and then it'll give me more room for a cabinet in the back. I won't have to unplug my power bank. When I put my cooler in, I'll have plenty of room to slide my 12-volt cooler in. And then the other thing is that when I originally built this, I looked at this truck build as something that I was going to primarily just sleep in. Like I would be outside at a campsite around a campfire, I'd be out hiking, I'd be fishing, I'd be doing something around the campsite, which is true. The vast majority of the time, that's what I do. I don't spend the vast majority of my time inside of the truck when I'm out camping. You know, that's my preference, is to not just be in the truck. However, in the wintertime, when it's cold out, you lose light at 4:30 at night. I spend more time in here than I thought I would, especially in wintertime camping. If it's raining or just, you know, whatever kind of weather you have, sometimes you just have to be in the truck topper. And while the bed platform is great for sprawling out and sleeping at night, it's not great if I have to cook inside the topper. It's not great if I have to just hang out inside the topper. And it's really, when I get the mattresses on and everything with the cabinet here, if I try to get into the storage, like, it's a challenge with everything on there for me to wiggle myself around. I'm not the smallest guy in the world. To wiggle myself around to get that open, to get something out from underneath it and put stuff back in it. So I think having some extra space would just make that far more easier. So I think that's the key to this whole thing, is that this bed platform has to be a little bit smaller. So there's a few things that I would also like to add on. When I was going over the interior, the cabinet is a switch panel. Obviously the first one is some exterior lights. I would love to have some LED lights that were on the exterior that I could just flip on with a switch. So when I'm getting out at night, or when I'm, especially in the winter camping, you know, it gets dark at 4:30, like I said. So it would be handy to be able to just flip a switch and have some exterior lights. Making sure that I have the camp cleaned up, have everything picked up for the night, didn't leave out any trash, my chair's taken care of, that kind of stuff. So exterior lights would definitely be on my list of things that I want to add. I would love to be able to put a roof rack either on the topper or on the truck somewhere. I'd love to have a roof rack. So I have a kayak sitting in my garage that doesn't ever get used, because since I built out the truck camper, I don't like to put it in there because it just gets crap all over my bedding, and then it just becomes a mess and I don't want it in there. And then when I get off the water, it's wet, and put it in there, and then my blankets get wet and my pillows get wet and they smell like water and lake and fish. I just don't want to deal with it. But most of the places that I camp are around a lake, and it would be really handy to have a kayak, either do a little bit of fishing from, just messing around, but just to go out and explore different areas. When I don't want to tow the big boat around with me, it would just be great to put in a kayak and just head out and see things from a different perspective. And then if I had the roof rack, it would probably give me a pretty decent place to mount some exterior lights. So maybe they go hand in hand. Maybe I got to look at doing the roof rack first and then put the lights on. But, you know, who knows? If you watch the Lake Scott Experience series that I filmed, most of the places that I go and that I want to sightsee are just in the middle of nowhere, Kansas or surrounding areas, surrounding state. And inevitably, I'm going to hit a dirt road or multiple dirt roads. And dirt roads are what they sound like. They're dirt. I mean, you have a cloud behind you. If you're following somebody, like, you got to back way off or you can't see nothing. Like, visibility goes to zero really quick on the dirt roads around here. And it migrates into the back of the camper. So when I was doing that series and I was traveling every day on dirt roads, like every night when I would get back or every evening I'd get back to camp, like that was the first thing I did. Open everything up, clean out all the dust, pull out the power bank, make sure all the exhaust fans, the vent fans, the cooling fans were all clear of dirt so I didn't clog it up and overheat it and it blow up on me. So one of the things that's definitely going to happen sooner than later is a tailgate seal kit. I think that'll help tremendously. I've seen other people who do truck camping have installed one and it seems to work good. So I think we're going to add that to our list of future projects that we got to put on to the truck. And then probably the final thing that I want to try to figure out is we're getting into the time of the year now where it's 95, 105, feels like 105, 110 degree temperatures here in Kansas. And it's hot, hard to camp and be comfortable and to enjoy yourself. So I would love to figure out a solution of getting some AC inside of this truck at a reasonable cost. There's no way I can go out and get the new Bluetti AC that they just put onto the market at, you know, $2,000 or whatever it is. That's just ridiculous. So I got to figure out a way to take the $130 small 5,000 BTU Walmart AC unit and get it into this truck somehow. And I've seen a lot of people do it that have the longer beds where they put in a false tailgate, put the AC in there and they just climb over it. I don't have that luxury because I have a tailgate tent and it just will be difficult to try to get an AC unit into that tailgate tent somehow. So I hope you enjoyed the overview of the truck camper build as it sits today. Maybe you picked up some ideas of things that you want to incorporate into your own build, or that some of the things that I pointed out that I don't like, you'll take into account when you do your own build and avoid those same mistakes. There will be some videos coming up in the future of Truck Build 2.0 as we tackle some of those challenges and make it more comfortable and a little more spacious on the inside and build it back out. But as always, thank you for watching. If you don't mind, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell to get notifications of some future videos. And until the next adventure, keep it real.